It was July 25th, 2025, 1 p.m. EST. At that very moment, I had received some of the worst news of my entire life. Spider-Man vs. Deku was due to take place just 4 weeks from today. But it wasn't just any Spider-Man. It was my personal favorite, Miles fucking Morales. God damn it. Now look, I'm not here to explain why I love the character of Miles Morales. That's something I'll do maybe another time. But what I am here to do today is to shoot for my mans, really. They've been doing this nigga dirty ever since the fight has been announced, okay? From slander posts, fan art of him getting cut, obituaries, bro. I can't let this slide, bro. This rubs me the wrong way. And you know what frustrates me the most? It's the fact that I don't think he loses. I'm genuinely confident that 100% Miles' entire bag is what it takes to beat Deku. And I'll try to fucking prove today. Now, you may see me as a madman for what I'm trying to propose here, but I am confident in my knowledge of Miles Morales as a person who's read so many books featuring this character, around 300 plus, in fact. I genuinely do believe that he has what it takes to fleece this green-haired Chick-fil-A team lead. Trust me on this one, man. Trust me. Trust me. But first, I'm going to set up a few ground rules to make things more interesting and to waterproof my arguments. Okay. 1. No chain scaling. Marvel chain scaling has done nothing but made all the arguments for Miles Morales look kind of psychopathic, like you're a fanatic. I will only use feats from another character if Miles himself has direct showings against that character. Number 2, no direct scaling from 616 Peter Parker. Yeah, sure, it would be easy just to ape feats from mainline Peter, but truth be told, the thing is, Miles is his own person, with his own showings and his own stories. As a fan of his, I kind of find it a little disrespectful to only use Peter as a keystone in his power scaling, rather than like his own feats and shit. So like, nah, I'ma do my own thing. Fuck this white guy. I hate white people. Final rule, or rule number 3, I'm gonna do a slight composite of Miles. This doesn't really change my opinion or outcome if it wasn't a composite, but it just makes things more fun to cover, really. When comparing the attributes of two different characters in a versus debate, there's always one stat that's critical in whether who wins. That stat is, well, speed. Because yes, we're covering this first, screw you. Anyways, this is without a doubt the most simple and somehow controversial leg Miles has against Deku. To the dismay of people who don't read Marvel comics, the speed scaling is kind of cracked, really. And Miles himself has no exception to that rule. To start things off, Miles Morales, my GOAT, has feats damn near a decade old in the massively hypersonic ranges. He's timed things down to the microsecond, dodged lightning from Storm and Electro. On one fucking random Tuesday, he was evading hypersonic missiles just cuz. By the way, just to point things out, Miles was also barely in year 2 during these feats. He didn't even have a suit during his fight against Electro, so not the flex, but my GOAT has always got it, bro. Now, if you want to take things further, we're gonna have to tackle the hurdle that is light speed. And I get it, okay? Light speed is a damn near divine title held by most power scalers, especially anime fans. But in terms of comic books, light speed really isn't that impressive, really, truth be told. Miles has a ton of ways of reaching the speed of light either way. The Wall Crawler has shown the ability to outpace that of light timers like Miss Marvel, someone who has a sub-relative speed within her first comic run. And as well, during his own rookie season, Miles was evading a horde of lasers during the Ultimate Cataclysm. Beyond this, however, you can get Miles much higher with the help of a few certain characters he scales to. But I will preference this. Take things with a grain of salt, since we're gonna get really absurd with his scaling right now. So, let's enter Sam Alexander Nova. This guy's whole shtick is just being the human rocket, which basically just means he has a ton of interstellar travel feats under his belt. To put things in perspective, Sam once showed the ability to cross multiple galaxies within a pretty short time frame once being chased by the Phoenix. This feat comes out to around 10 billion times the speed of light at a low end, which is just insane, really. With him and Miles both being teammates and homies, really, them having at the bare minimum some relativity is enough to get so deep into MFTL it's not even funny. Beyond that, however, Miles has a showing against a bloodlusted Sam Alexander during Champions 2019. During this, Miles still held his own against Sam, didn't get blitzed, was able to dodge attacks from him, and even tag him, which is pretty damn impressive. Go read Champions 2019, by the way. It's a really fun comic. I highly rate it. To add more to the pool that is MFTL Spider-Man, The dude's been able to blitz the likes of Rocket Raccoon and Division, characters who can react to things down to the picosecond, by the way, whatever that means. He's outmaneuvered solar system crossing symbiote dragons, run circles around Hell Lords, and even be able to scale to really, really fast spider mechs. Although I don't read Spider-Verse comics, so I can't really give credence to that. TLDR, basically, the nigga's really fast, okay? And here are the receipts to every meta I just gave. Overall, this all sounds pretty insane, and I can admit that yes, some of this stuff sounds pretty egregious, but in terms of combat, perception, and reaction speed, Miles should take this, okay? Because one thing I've really noticed during my time reading Miles books is that once he realizes he's faster than you, he will start crit farming. That's just in his nature. He's been able to dance around petty thugs, robots, heralds of gods, gods of those heralds. It just doesn't stop, really. Miles' agility, when fully locked in, has been so fine-tuned to the point where it's pretty much unmatched against really anyone he goes against. It's like a gimmick at this point. And while, yes, Miles' travel speed doesn't have really any display above hypersonic or around 10 times the speed of sound, he has consistently shown the ability to keep up with and read characters who can move faster than him. Like again, Nova, the speedster Heitzel, or the literal embodiment of space-time in his rogues gallery known as Quantum. So, gear shift is something I will get to later, but take this for now. So, in conclusion, this is Black Excellency at its finest. To the shock of many, I know, but expect nonetheless from, well, the greatest to ever do it, aka the Ultimate Spider-Man. We're not done yet, I'm so fucking corny. Attack potency / durability. Oh boy, I can already tell niggas on Reddit are not gonna like this one. Look, okay, I will concede this. Deku is undoubtedly a strong-ass motherfucker. Horikoshi was truly in his bag when making a contemporary shonen MC with the capacity of rivaling the powers of old-gen MCs. But, unfortunately for him, especially in this debate, the exact same thing could be said for his modern Western counterpart across the seas. Now you see, while Miles Morales may not boast feats as visually impressive as Midoriya, in no way does that mean he can't get to those absurdly powerful levels of strength just from his own merit. Skipping all the small potatoes in his scaling like the building or town level metas that don't really matter since Miles was eating stuff like that pretty early on in his career. In Ultimatum Requiem 2009, Peter Parker of Earth 1610, so different Peter Parker, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. In Ultimatum, 1610 Peter Parker absolutely endured the utter annihilation of that universe's Sanctum Sanctorum. His feat has been calculated all the way from the kiloton range to even 3.5 gigatons worth of TNT to my estimations. Miles should scale this easily considering the fact that 1, he's this Peter's direct successor, and 2, unlike that Peter, he didn't die within a year of being Spider-Man. As well as that, it has been stated in recent books that Miles has grown massively since his time in the Ultimate Universe. With this in mind, not only is this a pretty comfortable end to put Miles' power, but you could argue that he is far, far stronger than this currently. And well, spoilers to all my fellow Spider-Juthers, but refill your popcorn, because you're gonna love the next part. In order to gauge some higher ends for Miles, we're gonna have to look no further than his own books, really. For example, in Secret Empire 2016, an event Miles had a pretty critical role within, this is the same story that has him shatter the shield of Hydra Nazi Captain America. Wild sense, I know, but just bear with me. This feat right here is far more impressive than most people realize for 2 critical reasons. 1, this same shield was made out of alloy comparable to OG Cap, aka Vibranium. And 2, this same shield also was able to endure hits from Hercules, a tweaking Hercules at that too. As a result of this kinda adds more credence to the idea that Miles has comparable scaling to gods in one way or another. Thor himself has even stated that spider people have pretty atypical amounts of strength for mortals. So, yeah. For other feats for Miles, he's tanked blast directly from Vision, endured ultimate rhino piercing in the torso, he's been able to survive shock waves from Amadeus Cho's Hulk, this same Hulk being a guy who's able to shake a moon with his own AP. Most impressively is Miles being physically comparable to that of Iron Man suits. Okay, so the context for this is insane, but just stick with me. So, during 2023's Carnage regime, Cletus Cassidy just went on a goddamn rampage one night. After getting his hands on something called Extrembiote, which, watch a comic explain video if you want more insight on that. Cletus went on a bit of a rampage that night, okay? He was biting niggas, creating rage bait viruses, becoming a dragon. He was doing all sorts of shit in that bitch, bro. Okay, I'll tell you what. Carnage regime is a really fun story that I too recommend. But back on topic, the most notable part of the story for me was when Miles started going hit for hit with a corrupted Iron Man suit, and even tearing it apart at times. This compromised suit should be directly scaling to that of more classic models by Stark, including the Silver Centurion, which at bare minimum means Miles was directly comparable to that of a suit outputting around 200-something teratons worth of TNT, per the very words of Death Battle themselves. Though I have seen some sources claim that the output could be in the petaton ranges, but I'll leave it at that because explaining all this shit is low-key starting to make my head hurt. This is why I'm choosing not to use any convoluted chain scaling. I'd blow my shit smooth off if I had to try to explain who the fuck is Dr. Spectrum in order to make Miles planetary, okay? So, in normal people language, this nigga's strong as fuck. End of story. In mentally ill power scaling terms, in summary, his physical stats should be in the potency range of large mountain to the upper echelons of large country level, to even scratching continental if being more generous with his scaling. Of course, that is the physical part of his attack potency. You see, the thing is, while Miles Morales' physicals are pretty good overall, he has one more trick up his bag that puts him over most characters, both in-verse and cross-verse. That trick being, well, Miles' bioelectricity is just truly something special, man. Like, speaking with my parascaling brain off for a second, this stuff was just off the walls to read. Shit was just an instant win button, dead ass. I'm being so ass right now. Was this a slight detriment to the story? Maybe, but personally, I just like to believe that Bendis, the OG creator of Miles, by the way, realized dropping a rookie preteen into the decade-old, grim, dark as fuck world of Ultimate Marvel would have been a really unfair thing to do. So he gave him like an instant one tap and called it at that. I guess is some. Okay, but on a real note, I really do love the stuff Bendis put into Miles, like pre-2016, of course, because that shit was actually ass. I hate his 2016 run, but still, there's just something fun watching a kid who's super out of his head swing into battle and into like scenarios that like he really shouldn't be in overall. Like, bro, they draft this nigga, and it worked pretty damn well. I fucking love Ultimate Spider-Man 2011. My goat, bro. My goat indeed. Okay, back on track, but basically, bioelectricity is cracked. But how cracked exactly? The potency of Miles' Venom Blast is something that's been really contentious about his scaling. I've seen folks attempt to claim that random electricity-based powers from different verses and series objectively outscales anything Miles has to his name that aren't like outliers, plural, but might I ask? Now, what do I have to say about that? Well, it's quite simple. I'm gonna put my foot down and just say it. Miles' Venom Blast being busted is legitimately one of the most consistent parts of his scaling. Thematically, it was practically the only thing that allowed him to keep up with the later shenanigans of the Ultimate Universe, like Galactus vaporizing New Jersey. Evidence of it at full power, being able to press beings who seem far out of Miles' weight class, is simply too damn frequent to be labeled as an outlier. For a short list of examples, take it being able to blow apart symbiotes, knock out the likes of Fing Fang Foom, literally one-tap energy beings like Ultimate Electro, take out Red Hulk, fry the shit out of both universes' rhinos, even overwhelm Nova, the same guy who could endure taking dips into stars, vaporizing vampires, long story, don't worry about it though, overloading multiverse computers, and most infamously, forcing Blackheart, the son of Marvel's Satan, to change servers because he got bitched that badly. And finally, bioelectricity is just that potent that Iron Man himself has used it as a way of powering his own suits. Also, one more thing of note, but in comparison to normal enough lightning, Vision, a character I brought up a lot in this video, while Orphan for the so I'll give him that, has shown resistance to it, yet was wholly taken aback when hit with Miles' bioelectricity during Blood Hut 2024. Now, when trying to put an exact metric on how powerful Miles' bioelectricity is, things can get really stupid quickly. So, I'm gonna just leave it there, classify it as a very high tier variant of durability negation, and point out the fact that it has worked really well against those who are human, mutants, genetically modified, mutated, robots somehow, godbirds and gods themselves and demons and really everything under the sun. If this shit doesn't insta-crash niggas' games once Miles gets added to stuff like Rivals or Tokon, I'm screaming comic inaccuracy. Good night, everyone. One of the most discussed parts of the whole Miles versus Deku debate has to be how lopsided both characters' ability pools look to be at first glance. One character has like 7 quirks to his name, while the other guy is a lightning and web merchant. That's not fair at all, in the eyes of most people. Now, me personally, I kinda heavily disagree. You see, the thing is, into my research, I've come to realize that this matchup is more of a fight of diversity versus versatility. Like, yeah, Deku deadass still has a wider range of powers, but on the other hand, Miles has so many applications of his limited toolset that, like, I deadass think he can counter most of Deku's abilities and quirks. Let's look at his bioelectricity again. Since not only is it powerful on its own, but it has so many adaptable combat styles that it kind of makes it busted in itself due to versatility. At the most basic level, Venom Stings and Venom Punches are the most reliable forms of attack from Miles, with these moves also known to have the tendency of coming in the form of unconventional physical strikes or lag time bombs, kind of like the Virgin Fist from JJK. Beyond this, Miles' bioelectricity can take shape in various forms, like straight bolts of lightning, pure rays of energy, be transmitted through the ground, and most famously, the Venom Blast, as seen in the Insomniac games and his own comics. Uniquely, Miles has also shown the ability of using limited construct manifestation, as seen with the infamous Venom Sword that looks tough as hell, I cannot lie. You can't change my mind on that, that looks so cool. And also thread manipulation from Spider-Man 2016. Finally, I just want to point out a few specifically underrated aspects of Miles' Venom, like its ability to disrupt and absorb energy, and nerf any individual who's hit by it. For example, just look at the fight with Blackheart. Every single strike of Venom Miles gave Blackheart, he got weaker and weaker during the fight, to the point where even simple debris was able to hurt him. It makes sense too, considering the fact that Venom Blast is a form of Durnig that not only screws up a person's nervous system, but also messes up with their organs too, to the degree where they become way more prone to failure over time. Miles' spider sense is also far too overlooked, and to my guesses is probably due to the fact that like it was pretty ass during his initial run in the Ultimate Universe. Thankfully over time and with training, it has gotten better. His precog got a lot better via the aid of therapy and a few breathing techniques. Paired up with his improved spider sense comes with a few bonuses, including radar vision, a zoom, 360 vision, and most importantly, a resistance to forms of overstimulation. For example, he ate like 30 flashbangs to the face, yet was still able to overcome a villain who was really out to get him once. TLDR, it's a pretty good spider sense now, okay? It's not that team we should. For mobility options, of course, we have to start with wall crawling and web slinging. While both are self-explanatory, I do want to point out that Miles' webs do come in a variety of forms, including base, bioelectricity threads, and vibranium amp. These have their own sets of feats that I will point out on screen, so just look at that. Moving past the Spider-Man essentials, if allowed by DB, Miles could get some of his toys from the Insomniac games. This would include the advent of surfing, short venom dashes, web wings, and a whole bunch of random gadgets that I'm just going to put up screen. Miles as well, both in the games and comics, has displayed the use of bioelectricity as a form of propelling himself in the air, especially across long distances and mid-swing as a form of pseudo-flight, so take that what you will. And finally, for stat boosting equipment and forms, Miles has his max state, which doesn't have exact multipliers, but I have heard it boosts his stats by 100%, so make of that what you will, since comic book writers don't really do multipliers. Yes, it's a thin mesh of vibranium, but a lot of people don't get that it's also nanotech, which means Miles can shift its density at will and reinforce itself. For example, people use this anti-feat of Miles getting his shit rocked by Deadpool's daughter, yet they also appear to overlook the fact that in the next issue over, the suit's able to tank a point-blank range for an item that slimed out a god. That's the literal embodiment of the sky itself. Either way, this is just a very clear case of comic book chicanery and doesn't really debunk anything in the end. So who cares? Let's move on. With this all laid out, how does Miles stack up against the fruits of One For All and Deku? Well, standard test is completely outdone by Miles' spider sense on all fronts due to being 1, far more precise, and 2, having far more resistances to sensory overload. Smokescreen is completely rendered useless thanks to Miles' own radar sense, which prevents Deku from using it in any creative ways, and also he's not a dumbass, so he's going to stop any plan Deku makes. Float, despite being faster, can be rivaled by Miles' own form of flight through the web wings and bioelectricity, and Miles as well has experience fighting flying opponents, so this isn't as big of an advantage as people think it is. Black Whip and Overlay are two things I've waited so long to debunk in this video, but I've bid my time until now. Sure, while Black Whip does have greater range, Miles still could compete with it via the versatility of his own web and the abundance of them as well. Aside from that, however, there's still one crucial counter Miles has towards Black Whip that a lot of people don't seem to understand. It's a form of energy that Miles should be able to disrupt. This is a consistent ability Miles has in damn near every piece of mainstream media he's in. Even in the Spider-Verse movies for crying out loud. Because his one ability, Black Whip, has been greatly rendered almost useless by the wall crawler. And yeah, even the admittedly looking cool overlay ability is still pretty useless, as you guys know what Spider-Man did to Ultimate Electro. If Deku ever tried that shit, Miles would touch him once and blow his shit smooth off, all his shit off. He would slime the fuck out of that nigga. That is a powerful ass win con Miles has to his name. And finally, to anyone who thinks overlay could like protect Deku from Miles' Venom Blast, no, it would not. If Venom Blast is able to pierce the skin of Rhino and basically make him say, nah, good off that while fighting Miles, then of course it would affect Deku. It's been able to blow apart symbiotes and free hosts in like no time. Overlay is not the counter you think it is. It would not work. I refuse to believe it would work. I would be pissed off if like Death Battle actually used it as a proper like advantage Deku has over Miles, because that's not happening. That's not happening at all. Okay, so when calming down and talking about Fajin, well, it's a pretty solid ability. Unfortunately, because Miles' Venom Blast, like, debuff people hit by it, unfortunately, any effect it would have on Deku would be undone with every hit Miles does to him. So it's kind of rendered mute in this equation. For extra things, for AoE attacks, unfortunately, while yes, they're pretty devastating, I will admit that, Miles has tanked stuff similar to that raw and with the vibranium suit, with that buffing his durability exponentially. So Miles should be good when hit by those. Plus, with him being a smaller target, some physics-based mumbo jumbo basically means that he's not gonna get hit with the full frontal AP of Deku. So I actually think Miles has this in the bag. And with all of that covered, it's now time to talk about the final trump card, Gear Shift. Okay, so I'll admit it. Gear Shift is the one ability that Miles has no direct counter towards. It is the absolute defiance of the law of inertia, completely shattering physics as some sort of reality warping middle finger at Deku's fingertips. It has been glazed to the high heavens by damn near every power scaler I've seen online. And so, because of these statements, imagine my shock when I found out that Deku can only use this ability for about 5 minutes. Gear Shift's ability to manipulate the speed of basically anything is fine and all, but unfortunately, it took just a few Google searches and like one YouTube video for me to be informed that 1. It requires physical contact, not good fighting a guy whose whole gimmick is dodging people. 2. It has a pretty strict time limit. 3. Deku can't fucking breathe while using it. And 4. He might suffocate to death if he used it for too long. That's a strict time limit. With these restrictions, and the fact that Miles' spider sense has been able to detect reality warping before, and also Miles is an individual who is very well versed in the field of physics, and also, there's a certain cosmic entity in Miles' ear to probably give him guidance, I genuinely think Miles could probably use Gear Shift against Deku if he caught on to what he's doing. Especially considering the fact that because Deku lacks oxygen while using Gear Shift, him taking damage to his circulatory system, via Miles' Venom Blast that deals internal damage, could do him in this fight. And even if that doesn't work somehow, then, well, similar to how Fajin is cancelled out by Venom Blast, so should Gear Shift because of the debuffing nature of it. So yeah, that's that, and holy shit, that was a lot of bullshit to say. For stamina and endurance, Miles has a pretty impressive feat of withstanding non-stop torture for the length of an entire week. Wild since I know, but just bear with me. Another feat of his can be sourced from the pages of Carti's regime. Despite being sliced in the back and bitten in the shoulder, Miles was still able to power through and put up a pretty good performance during that entire night. Like lifting buildings, saving people, taking hits from Dragon Carnage, type shit. These incredible showings are likely due to Miles having the Ultimate Universe's OS formula flowing through his veins, which as a result basically makes it so Miles is kinda immortal, even to this day. Also thanks to his vibranium suit's conductive nature, his overall efficiency with bioelectricity has been generally maximized to a near exponential extent. Even states that he feels as if he can hold a charge for a full day, so yeah, I don't think running out of Venom Blast during a fight with Deku is going to be an issue in this scenario. In the department of skills, even without proper training, Miles was able to hold his own par with likes of Old Man Logan and the Winter Soldier at a young age. Although, in more recent comics, the Webhead has been seen receiving proper training from the likes of Black Panther, Captain America, Coiling wings, missing knights, shields, the list goes on. He's well informed in hand-to-hand combat, having showcases of judo against the likes of Vulture, and packing Kenjutsu when swinging his Venom Sword. In terms of battle IQ, Miles has shown the capability of thinking of plans on the spot at the most dire of circumstances. In fact, one really underrated intelligence feat for Miles was him using his spider sense to pinpoint the exact location of a weird time-traveling enemy among his clones and some. It was a weird thing. This is getting really tiring to explain. I think you get it, right? Miles is skilled and smart. Let's move on. We're gonna have to talk about Nancy, if that's how you pronounce it. Now, a lot of people seem to think this guy is one of two things. Either someone who just watches Miles masturbate and does jack shit, or a literal stand for him. Now, me personally, I'm more liberal with this. While he isn't some kind of stand or super form for Miles, he still offers him, like, various benefits. For instance, him just existing automatically makes it so everything people can call an outlier for Miles is just straight up downplay. Anansi being the guy Miles is heralding means he automatically should scale to anything above just street level. I don't know why people constantly try to hold spider people down to street level anyways. Nextly, he should give Miles some proper soul resistance, since a lot of people seem to think Deku's vestiges could just metaphysically gangbang the spider. Thankfully, I think Anansi would probably be more than enough to just prevent that, as he has done the exact same thing before with the vampire investing Miles' soul. And the final point is something I'm a little bit shaky of, but Anansi could be a critical counter towards One For All's supposed fate manipulating properties, since he is like the weaver of stories and all. I'm a bit shaky on this since I'm not that well versed in that one aspect of my area of scaling. But hey, I'm gonna just put that out there and hold that. So, Miles Morales should, at a low end, be massively hypersonic in terms of speed, or at a conservative mid end, be FTL to FTL+++, or at an undeniable maximum high end, be really deep in that MFTL ballpark. For attack potency, he should be in the Giga to Terra to Petaton caliber, with his max form adding to that, and his high tier Durneg via bioelectricity should be the perfect cherry on top. For durability, he should scale to his physical AP, but thanks to the Vibranium suit and reinforcement, it could be exponentially higher. He has one of the best kits out of the entire Spider-Verse, 5 years plus of experience under his belt, training from some of the best around, various win cons that I'll put up on screen, and a literal god on his side. With all this covered, I'm really only left with two things to say. One, Miles Morales is Spider-Man. And two, fuck Peter Parker.